Welcome to Therapy Flow. Today, we're talking about growing your private practice by having better recruitment strategies that aren't just posting on Indeed.com. How do we feel about job posting sites these days? Attilio, how's that going for most practices?
Um, some practices love it and some don't. And I think that's the biggest problem is that it's just a little bit spotty. And so usually posting on the sites, it's kind of like the low hanging fruit option. It's the quick option. You've heard the radio ads. You've been hit with, maybe the Facebook and Instagram ads from Indeed, from the inception of your business. So you guys know about them, and I would say that they're good and they still produce results. I think maybe you just
Start
have to
there.
tweak how you interact with them.
Yeah. It kind of starts if you're struggling right now to get great talent in your practice with sort of a context switch. If you think about real estate like a buyer's or seller's market in the mental health therapy space, because of how much change and a lot of other things, it's more of a buyer's market, meaning those that are looking for a clinical position have more options than the employers trying to hire. And so you just kind of have to know the environment that you're in and be able to both advertise, create job offers, create competitive wages, benefits, other things that we'll talk about in a second to go along with these recruitment strategies. And bottom line, it's really important for you to be able to hire who you want to hire because great clinical talent in your team will be the primary determination of success for your practice, especially as a smaller practice at first, because they'll retain your clients longer, they'll bill more sessions, and they'll do good work. And you need all of that as you grow the practice.
Yeah, I'll add to that too. When he says hire who you need to hire, he doesn't mean just like hiring great people. Like like every practice is looking for great people that are going to stick with them for a long time that match the culture. Like we're also talking about the overarching business strategy of having and filling certain clients onto certain clinicians' calendars. So if
Yeah.
you have cracked the code on marketing for occupational stress, for example, and you know that if you bring on one or two new occupational stress therapists, you'll likely be able to fill them out. Uh, and you know that you can double your marketing and you could probably double the clinicians that you have on staff. That's a really good business strategy. That was like a low risk, high reward move that you just did. Whereas if you just post on Indeed and you're getting clinicians and you're like, oh, that one does EMDR and that looks good, or oh, this one does IFS and that looks good, and you start diversifying, and you start having to do all different things to fill all different people, you start really creating a lot of complexity in your business and creates a lot of risk and it creates a lot of uncertainty in a lot of cases. And so finding the right people is a strategy, and finding the right grouping is sort of like what we're kind of aiming our sights at here
Yeah.
before you start diversifying.
And if you're looking for live, big nuts and bolts support with this, we do a ton of this type of hand holding conversation flow in our general coaching and strategy program. You can get clinical guidance from great group practice owners, strategic guidance operationally from people like Attilio and myself, resources, master classes, deep dives on these topics, going through heavy recruitment strategies for a practice and job postings and offers. But today we're going to be going through about 4 or 5 great, probably new core strategies for getting clinical talent that maybe you haven't considered or you haven't heard about. First one we want to talk about is just running Facebook and Instagram ads for your own practice. It's pretty simple. You write a little bit about the job offer and the license type that you're trying to hire for. You get a pretty picture with a nice call out on it. You make it either local or statewide targeting. You put a couple $100s at it and you do a lead ad or you push it to a job application page. And time again, the amount of people I've heard get 3, 5, 10 good quality candidates is there and is huge. The benefit to this one is some people who maybe want a job or want to transition or vaguely thinking about it, they might not be on those job sites yet, but they are on Facebook and Instagram scrolling. So it might be a new way to catch their attention.
Yeah, catch them before they leave their job, right? Like most good clinicians or even great clinicians already have a job and they probably like where they're at. And so if you show them an offer, this is a great way to just sort of get ahead of the curve and
Yeah,
let them know that there's other things out there. I'm actually going to extend this to spending money on the job listing sites.
that's a
So
good point.
I think sometimes we forget that that's an option, and or we just don't want to, right? We want to take the cheaper way, or we want to see who just comes to us for free because you do get free candidates. But 10 free candidates versus 100 candidates that maybe you spent a little bit of money on, that's a very different recruiting and hiring experience because you have so many more options. You get to be a little bit more picky. You get to talk to more people. You get to kind of find exactly what's going to work out best for you. And so I think maybe the overarching strategy to Facebook and Instagram ads, and then just paying in general, is talk to more people, and you might have a better pool that you like.
Yeah. Finding great talent, it goes hand in hand with using your current team to find that great talent. Attilio, tell us about like referral bonuses, how that works, and why that might be a good strategy for a practice owner to take.
Yeah, the first thing we do at Therapy Flow when we have a new job is tell the whole team about it. We've got a new job open. Here's the job description. Do you guys know anybody that might be able to fill this position? This is kind of vaguely what we're looking for. And if they have these types of experiences or these soft skills, they would crush. So one, like tell your team that you're recruiting. That's going to be a good move in the right direction. And if you don't get too many referrals, when you do that, put an incentive on it. So slap,
Yeah.
$500 finder fee, slap $1,000 finder fee on it. The clinicians that are referring other awesome clinicians or more clinicians in their network may have more clinicians in their network. And you might find that you save yourself lots of money, heartache, headache, and otherwise just by incentivizing your team. Plus, it's a good way to make everyone who's contributing feel happy and good about themselves.
And if you're going to do some sort of especially higher cash bonus or something, just put like a 6 month or 12 month payout time frame on it. AKA, hey, if you get your friend hired here, they have to be here at least like 6 or 12 months to get that paid out. And that's great. My wife, she works for another company. She's gotten like 3 or 4 referral credits, and we are always happy and thrilled to get the extra $500 or $1,000 that it's been a couple different times. Everyone likes $500 and you get a great hire out of it. And getting great hires can also look like going direct to the source. Where do clinicians come from? Clinicians come from colleges. And so colleges and master's level programs, those department heads, those professors, those alumni networks, those job fairs, those fill in the blank. Those are people that you should be connected with on LinkedIn and do dinners with and a coffee with for your most closest local, even if that wasn't your college, and other state schools and other things across the board for where you're trying to source talent from. Be known in those circles and build those relationships. And it's going to really help spread the awareness on your practice, your brand, what you're about. And because everyone that came from that college is constantly reaching back to their network of professors, department heads, and other things when they go through job transitions typically and say, hey, do you know anywhere? Do you know anyone where I can head next for X, Y, and Z? And you want to be that person that they talk about and they recommend. What happens with LinkedIn outreach, Attilio, and what can we do there to source better clinical talent?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is an interesting one. You get to search exactly for the license type that you're looking for, and you can specifically look for clinicians that are employed maybe on some large hospital network or hospital systems, or even some of the businesses like the Better Helps or whatever else is kind of out there. And so you can kind of go cherry pick and say, hey, I know that I can compete against Better Help clinicians, and I know that I can find licensed clinical social workers. So just set those two filters up, send them a nice message, and bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself maybe a good introduction there. All you need is a good little offer to kind of send them that message. You may need to have like a paid version of LinkedIn to do some of the like recruiting credits, recruiting searches, but it's all very, very cheap. And for the most part, this is something that you can kind of man the fort on uh, with very, very little time because it is
Yeah.
so targeted. And so you just go in, you type in BetterHelp therapist, you type in, the license type that you're looking for, send out 5, 10, 20 messages a month. And if you hit your recruiting quota, then stop. And so that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
There's two last things we want to cover. One is one last strategy, and the other is just how do you retain your current team? Because there's nothing worse than recruiting your current team and then losing your current team. One last quick strategy for that, and it cuts both ways for both retention, I think, and for future recruitment. And that's hosting, whether it's virtual or in person, networking events, workshops, continuing education, offers of some kind, and you open your doors to the public. So other local practices, other hospital systems, colleges, statewide, market this in local groups, mailers, Facebook ads, Facebook groups, whatever that looks like. But you find a networking event, a coffee hour, a continuing ed, a specialty workshop on couples counseling or EMDR, something, and you do that monthly to quarterly for your practice, and you invite anyone that can come in. It will just increase your brand presence overall. So when you have openings and you can tap people on the shoulder and say, hey, have you thought about transitioning? But more than anything, it will actually go the other direction of people find out about you. When they're ready to transition, find a better or a healthier place to work, and you're the source of creating community, they're going to come to you. And that's great. And it's worked. That works agnostic in all industries, works really well in this industry more than anything. Attilio, tell us a little bit about what the not losing your current team and how that affects the business if that's going on.
So if you need to fire somebody, you need to fire someone, right? I think that that's like important for you to think through and know. But if you don't need to fire someone, you should also consider that as an option. Retention looks like holding the people that you want to fight for or that you would fight for if they told you that they were going to leave. So you are trying, the objective here is to build a dream team for your organization, period. I think this is a Netflix culture tip that they have over at Netflix is they want high performers that contribute to the team. They explicitly say they are not a family because family is about
Unconditional
it's
love.
yeah, unconditional love. And so that's not necessarily what you're trying to do in business. You're trying to build the NBA finals team. And so that means that everything needs to work out extremely well, right? Across the board. And so when you have someone that is a dream team member, you've got the Shaquille O'Neal on your team. Um, Building great culture, building great processes, building great people. These are all awesome elements for you to help retain this talent. There's an old axiom, I think, and it just says people don't quit businesses, they quit working with the manager that they're there for.
Yeah.
And really, if you aren't leading, if you don't have internal leaders, if you don't have people who are fired up about going to work, if you're not creating new things and presenting the fact that you're doing new things, or you're making progress, or you're creating new systems and processes to improve their lives, people just kind of get sick and tired. You can't expect someone who's a Shaquille O'Neal, an A player, to just want to stick around forever because they get antsy and they start looking for grass is greener type situations. So I would just keep that in mind. Build some great culture, be a great leader, and know who you're willing to fight for, and then fight for them.
Yeah. One last tip is if you start too high in your pay scale,
Hmm.
you don't have room to go much higher on the pay scale. That's less of a problem. It's more if you start too high in the pay scale, you have nothing left over to invest in other things your employees need from you. We're talking about regular healthcare benefits, 401k, time off policies, bonuses, commission structures, culture building events. On the list goes of things that your employees actually want out of an organization, if they're going to stay an employee in an organization. And you can't afford to do any of those with the margins in this space if we start too high on pay. And you just have to know there are so many clinicians to make the trade for a plurality of benefits and security more than slightly higher pay. So if you always set up for yourself and say, no, they need the highest pay possible, that's what they value, we see that not being true time and time again. So just don't cut yourself short and invest in other areas of benefit for the practice. And it'll also help with recruitment. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers.